Today, we're gonna talk about some really great stuff. We're gonna talk about the myths of living with herpes. Hey there, I'm Alexandra Harbushka, founder of Life with Herpes. All right, let's get into these myths about living with herpes. Probably like myself, I'm sure we all have these ideas of what people living with herpes would be like, look like, their activities, their behavior, things like that, right? We all had this like conception of who had herpes and then also what herpes was. So before I get into that, I want to explain that I had my own myths, thoughts, conceptions of it, but I knew better. I actually was a peer educator for Planned Parenthood. So when I was in high school, there was this really awesome, the system, that's not the word, but this really awesome, it was a community service project, I guess, that Planned Parenthood trained high school students. You had to be picked, you had to take tests, you had to go through hours and hours of training. And when we were certified as sex educators, we were actually able to go out into the high schools in San Diego. So I was a sex educator in high school. So I'd go to these other high schools and I taught anatomy and physiology, and it was really cool. So my point in that is I knew about herpes. I knew about other STIs, STDs. I knew about pregnancy. I knew how it all worked. But I still never thought it would happen to me. And here's why. Some of the myths I thought about herpes was I had this conception of the person that had herpes would look like Marilyn Manson. Now, who knows if he has herpes or not? Like, he's probably a really nice guy. But I was like terrified of someone that looked like that. And so in my mind, I would never get herpes because I would never sleep with Marilyn Manson or a Marilyn Manson-like person. I also had these other myths or misconceptions. I guess mine were more like how the person, like what type of person had it. So if you were married, there's no way a married couple would have herpes, duh. Like in my mind, obviously they wouldn't. If you're dating or like a serial monogamous type person, there's no way you would have herpes. Let's see, what else? I had HSV-1 orally. I got that in 2003. I didn't know, I kind of knew that it could go genital, but that was like a really rare situation. That didn't really happen. Even though I did know that STIs could be sexually transmitted through oral sex. So I knew that, but I was different. I didn't think that that just didn't happen for me, right? I believed that, what else? I had some other great misconceptions and myths about herpes. I thought that your life was over in the sense that you had to settle on who you married, or you were going to be single for the rest of your life, or there'd be like these big issues in your life that you couldn't move forward with. Like there'd be all these like handicaps you would have. Okay, so obviously all of that is false. Doesn't matter who you look like, what your profession is. It doesn't matter if you sleep with one person your entire life or hundreds, thousands of people. It doesn't matter. The herpes virus doesn't care. So these are all myths. I asked you guys, I asked on DM and I asked in our Secret Society community for you to tell me your myths. That's why I have my laptop here. So let me read to you some of the myths that you guys had, and you tell me if they sound familiar. I just read one of the ones that I put. The guy that I really liked, there's no way he would have herpes because I liked him. Like that made sense in my mind. Of course, he wouldn't have herpes. Oh, and there was also another one. Of course, there'd be a way to know that the person had herpes. Like you would just know by looking at them. Please. Okay, here's what you guys said. That people who slept around with a lot of people most likely would get herpes, when honestly, it only takes one time to catch something. You don't have to be sleeping around with so many people. That's a huge myth. We associate promiscuity with, obviously you have herpes. It's absolutely false. It has nothing to do with it. My thoughts were those in the promiscuous people, that those are the promiscuous people who would get those issues. Nope, it just took me one time. A myth I had was I thought when somebody had herpes, more specifically HSV2, that their outbreak was consistent and it'd be easy to notice and see and easy to avoid. That's a huge one. We think that like, oh, I would be able to see it on the person when I would, no. You can't. So it's invisible most of the time. I believe that I'd be able to see it prior to jumping between the sheets. I always used to take a shower with my partner so that I could explore and see. That's a great idea. It's like super cool and intimate, but you can't see if somebody has herpes. Most of the time it's dormant and you wouldn't even know that they have it. A myth was I thought herpes was extremely rare, like 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 1,000 people had it. Okay, that's a huge myth. 2 out of 3 people have HSV1 and 1 out of 6 people have HSV2. That's a significant, like, huge, that's a lot of people that have herpes. You can't, like, that's not 1 out of 1,000. I thought that I was only gonna get genitals, but I get mine on my legs and my buttocks. I guess I was wrong. Yeah, that's another big misconception. People think it's only on your genital area, but it can be anywhere kind of in like the underwear boxer area. It can be on your butt, it can be on the inside of your thighs, it can be like under your belly button. I was gonna say fupa, but now I said it. People said I thought that I would die if I got this. If you got this, you could never talk to anyone about it because no one else in the world has it. Yeah, that's not true. Look we're talking about it now. That I'd be alone or have to settle with the person who gave it to me. I thought that too. I thought I had to stick with the guy that gave me herpes because I was used goods. No one would ever want me. So as you can see here, like there's so many myths, misconceptions. We all have our own misconception about it. The truth is that everyday regular people get herpes, have herpes. It has nothing to do with how many people you slept with. It has nothing to do with activities or it just whether you're married, single. The virus doesn't really care. Like it has nothing to do with that. One of the things I do not want you to do, I don't even know if I did it because Google at the time in 2011 it wasn't what Google is now. Don't turn there, don't go to Google. You'll see these terrifying photos that like, oh my gosh, I like terrifying. I'm terrified to see them. Don't look at them. Those are awful. A lot of the information that's out there is not accurate, it's false. There's a lot of misinformation out there on herpes, specifically living with herpes. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to live with herpes. Some of the information out there is very crushing, very stigmatizing, and that's not what we want. So what I have done is I've comprised and put together a toolkit that has, I think 6 videos in there talking everything from the herpes 101, herpes disclosure, how to get rid of an outbreak prevention, lots of other stuff, which is what you would be looking for towards Google. So I have that together in a toolkit. I have it linked for you. Yeah, don't go to Google. Scariest thing ever. All right, let me know below what some of the myths you had, if I missed them, if I got them, let me know. It is kind of funny to look back and go like, how did I actually, like I believed that. Like I believed that if I really liked a guy, he didn't have herpes. Of course he didn't, because I liked him. Super silly. All right, I can't wait to hear what your myths are. Let me know below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.